All right, welcome in here as our focus turns to the Big 12 and a great matchup this weekend, Week 10 in the college football season. OU will be hosting Baylor this weekend. 3.5 is what I'm seeing right now in the marketplace with a total of 58. Oklahoma seems to have gotten back on track here, Kevin Dolan, but are you buying that they are the favorite here against the Baylor Bears?
From a side perspective, Joe, this is a tough one for me to figure out. I made this game right around the number. So, yeah, I'm going to leave the side alone here, but I think the under presents some better value in this one overall in terms of, a play. If we go back to last week's game against Texas Tech, the Bears looked very impressive on defense in that game. They held the Red Raiders to 4.2 or less yards per play on both the ground and through the air in that one. And we're able to limit Texas Tech to just 3 points total in the first half of that game as well. And, that follows on from a season where the Bears ranked first in the Big 12 this season on total rushing defense, as well as second on team passing efficiency defense as well. So, we know what Baylor are bringing ahead of this game in terms of defense, but Oklahoma have took an uptick as well, since former Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables took charge earlier this year. This Sooners team has definitely placed a greater emphasis on defense. They're averaging 3.5 points per game less to opponents over the first 5 games of the season than they were last year. Their running game has also seen a major uptick from last season as well. Oklahoma are now averaging almost 37 yards per game more on the ground this season than they were last year. So I do expect this game to be close on Saturday. I really can't pick a side here as, my numbers, as I said, have this right around the current line, although if forced, might possibly just lean to Baylor just because we're getting those extra couple of points. But overall, I think the under's a much stronger play here. And depending on where this line goes, something that may end up making my card before the weekend.
So it's a tough spot here for Baylor on the road against Texas Tech. There, Merril, they get the job done. Now they got to go to Norman. Not an easy place to play. They are getting 3.5. What do you think?
Yeah, Baylor finally stopped turning the ball over in that last game. They'd had 6 turnovers against West Virginia and Kansas, 8 turnovers in their previous 3 games combined. They'd gone just 1 and 2 straight up in ATS. And then last week at Texas Tech, a 4-1 turnover advantage. And that obviously makes the difference. Oklahoma is a team that's had a tremendously disappointing season. In fact, this is really kind of the letdown bowl, right? I mean, these are 2 teams that definitely are top 25 talent that are neither even ranked anymore. They will not be appearing in my college football top 25 video this weekend. They've been in it quite often earlier this season. In fact, I think the last time maybe I talked about Oklahoma was when they played TCU a few weeks ago after that Kansas State loss. And Kansas State's a good team. There was no shame in that loss, even though they were a 2-touchdown favorite, but they just didn't show up at Texas Christian back on October 1st. And what really stuck out to me in that game was how bad Oklahoma's defense was. TCU halfway through the game in that eventual 55-24 win, TCU had 4 touchdowns of 62 yards or more halfway through that game. Now, you could say, well, maybe Oklahoma wasn't focused, and that was obviously part of the problem because the next week they go out and lose 49-0 to Texas in their big rival game. But to Oklahoma's credit, they have somewhat turned their season around. They haven't quit. Back-to-back wins, and it started with that high-scoring shootout against Kansas by 52-42. And then they had the bye week, came back and played well against Iowa State last week. I actually liked Iowa State last week. We've hit 80% in college football the last 2 Saturdays at wagertalk.com. One of those rare misses was actually Iowa State last week. So did not have a good feel for this team. In fact, the only other miss was, guess what? Texas Tech. So 8-2 the last 2 Saturdays, and the only 2 losses I've had have been fading these 2 teams. So I'm probably not the person to ask right now what to do with these 2 squads. I will point out that the line is all over the place. As we do this video on Tuesday earlier in the week, mostly 3.5s, but I see some 3s. I even see a straggler 4 out there still. So, like Kevin said, if you like the dog in Baylor, maybe wait, you get some 3.5s at some point. If you like Oklahoma, you probably want to lock in that -3 early in the week. Total is also jumping around, though. It's 58, 57.5 in some spots. I even see a 58.5 straggling. So really going to be interesting to see where this line settles in, especially around a key number like 3. And we'll see which team continues to play hard. These are 2 teams, if you look at the power index ratings, a lot of computer systems have both Baylor and Oklahoma as top 15, top 25 programs, yet neither is ranked. So it's really a matter of who plays up to their ability finally. Oklahoma, I think, is probably the preferred side at home, even though Baylor ranks higher in some of my computer models. Tough call here. Sooners need to run the ball. I think that's where they have the edge in this game. I think Baylor throws the ball better. And I think both defenses, although statistically yards per play isn't bad, they've had trouble against explosive opponents. So we'll see how this one plays out on Saturday, but two teams that have definitely not had the seasons they were expecting.
Yeah, no, they're not. And which team shows up, really, for both of these guys? Should be a good one, though. Always is in the Big 12 this Saturday. If you head on over to wagertalk.com, you can check out Steve Merrill's page as well as Kevin Dolan's page and those 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all-access packages, guys. That's the way to go. Pick one up today. Let's make it a very profitable Week 10 in college football.